And you often stress the value of like diving in, like not overthinking it, not basically leading with action, right? In the Monk book, you write, for example, experience is overrated because it just takes too long, right? If you waited until you had all of the credentials that like some business academic would tell you need to start a private jet company, you would have never started a private jet company, right? So like experience just takes too long. You dive in and you figure it out. Your survival instinct kind of kicks in, and then you kind of energize sort of everything you do. And obviously combined with that amazing ability to know what you're good at, to know what your limitations are, and then kind of build a team around that. So this is obviously a super powerful approach, without a doubt. It could also come with a little bit of danger and risk, right? Definitely more danger and risk than people who go with a more deliberate approach, or want to play things a little bit more safe or more connected to sort of all the different downsides that can happen. How do you decide like when to dive in and when not to dive in, right? You've got this big goal, like, are you aware of, do you apply that same sort of self-awareness of your role? Do you apply that also in the selection of the actual goals or the actual ventures you're going to get involved in?
Yeah, I mean, for starters, for many people, it's really intimidating to not have experience. Experience is important if you're a surgeon. But for what we're talking about, I just didn't have the time for most of the businesses to develop the skills. I mean, there would have been a million different businesses launched in the same space if I would have waited. And for a lot of people, not having experience can be incredibly intimidating. And it can be a deterrent. But for me, it was always a big gift because it guaranteed that I would do things differently than everybody else. It guaranteed that I could just trust, I would learn how to do it. It would give me a different perspective, a fresh lens than everybody else in the industry. Most people in most industries follow the playbook that's standard in that industry. And that's not where innovation and disruption comes from. Innovation comes from newness and being willing to do things, look different and operate different and treat your customers differently. And I'm constantly asking myself, how could I do this differently? What makes me stand out? Is this the right font? Is this every element of that? And not just for the sake of being different, but authentically different. So for me, that was the greatest gift because it meant Marquis Jet. We were going to do everything differently in every business that I've had. So that's the first thing. When I was younger in my 20s, I said yes to everything. 20s are a great time to network, say yes, get out there. You're building a foundation and you want to create luck. You want to put yourself in an environment where you can attract luck, who you meet, a possible sale, introductions. That doesn't happen staying home. So you have to say yes. As I've gotten older, I've realized the importance of saying no. And a lot of people don't want to say no because you don't want Fred's a jerk. I asked him for 15 minutes and he couldn't even give me 15 minutes of his time.
Right.
You want 15 minutes of your time? If you spend 15 minutes every day and just treat it like a throwaway, I'll give you 15 minutes. Because people always ask me, I was like, 15 minutes, that's like the standard. 15 minutes, there's something called the rule of 100. The rule of 100 is if you spend 100 hours in the course of a year, it's basically 15, 18 minutes a day. You'll be better than in any discipline that you choose to spend 15 minutes a day. You'll be better than 95% of the world's population in that discipline. It doesn't mean you'll be a jiu-jitsu master. It doesn't mean you'll be the best saxophone or violin player or chess player, but you'll be better than 95% of the world's population. If you spend 15 minutes a day reading a book and you're an average reader, you'll read about 18 to 20 books a year. Think about what you can learn. So you can't be casual with your little 15 minutes a day. In fact, you should be really deliberate and carve out 15 to 30 minutes a day. I'm going to answer your question in a second, but I don't know how many parents listen to this, but I remember before I even had kids, I was in my office at Marquis Jet. My friend came in. I asked him how the weekend went. He said, it was good. I said, what'd you do? He said, I went to my son's soccer game. I said, how'd you do? Just making conversation. How'd he do? He said he had 7 goals. I was like, 7 goals? How old is he? 7 goals? Are you kidding me? He said he's like 6. I said, well, how did he get so good at soccer? He said, well, I spend 5 minutes a day with him. I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, it's just 5 minutes a day. All the other kids, they go to practice on Saturday. And then they do their own thing and then they practice on Saturday. But my kid is getting an extra 5 minutes, an extra 30 minutes a day, an extra 2 hours a month. And he goes, that's the difference.
Wow.
And I didn't even have kids. And I'm like, I never forgot that. And I started implementing the 5 minute a day rule with my kids when they were young. Now it's gone to like a 15, 20 minute rule a day. But that time is very valuable. It's important that you structure your day and you leave time for yourself to learn.
Yeah.
Gandhi said it best: live like you're going to live like you'll die tomorrow. Learn like you'll live forever. You have to keep
That's a good one.
growing and mastering your skill, whatever your skill is. Before I did Ultraman, all right, I've never even done a sanctioned Ironman in my life, and I jump into this like the granddaddy of all these races. I dove into it every day. I learned how to swim on YouTube.
Wow.
That's when you talk about in the beginning hard work. No, it's an obsession while you have your goal on your way to your goal, and then you go back to your regular life. And I told my family, I told my wife and kids, Daddy's going on his own island for 3 months, man. I got to knock this thing out, and then I'll be back. So they knew, because I didn't want them to resent me. I didn't want to resent them. I didn't want to feel guilty if they took away what I love to do. Like going back to your question about choosing things on experience versus lack of experience, your 20s, you say yes to everything. And then as you get older, you start to realize the importance of no and how to say no, which I can talk about in a minute if you want. But the way that I grade things now as I get older, if you're not in your 50s, you can think about this as you get older, is aggravation versus reward. For me, I don't want high aggravation going into my 60s and 70s. In my 20s, I could handle high aggravation for high reward. It was that trade-off was worth it for me. That the aggravation was worth it because I had nothing. I wanted the reward. But now I want low aggravation, even if it's low reward, but for the highest reward. If it's high aggravation, someone say, hey, you want to co-found Google right now? No, you couldn't pay me $1 bazillion to start Google because I have 4 kids. I wouldn't I wouldn't trade that for that right now in my life, missing and working 20, I wouldn't do that. So it's aggravation versus reward. One thing I want to add, there's an art to saying no. And if you're like me, you don't like it because you want to be liked. So you don't want to say no to people because you're scared that they're not going to like you. But there's an art to saying, if you invite me, Fred, to go to dinner on Thursday night, this Thursday night, you're like, Jesse, we're all 5 guys, man. We're going out. We'd love for you to join. First of all, I'm going to say, Fred, I appreciate the invitation. I can't do it on Thursday. I don't need to explain why. I don't need to give you an explanation when I say no, why I can't go. I'm not on the defensive. You invited me and I can't go.
That's big, yeah.
And you guys, the reason why I don't want to go is I'm going to sit home. I'm going to play a baseball catch with my son this Thursday. Now, you guys 5 guys are at the restaurant. I've already said no. And I do it myself. I don't outsource my no's usually. I do it myself. Let them know. I'll call up the restaurant. I'll be like, my friend Fred is there. I want to pick up the bill. I want to send dessert. I want to buy a round of drinks. I want you to write this note, please. Fred, thanks for the invite. I wish I was there with you guys. Love you guys, man. Dessert on me.
So you show like love and appreciation. You don't just say it. You also demonstrate it, and you're kind of part of the experience, right?
And I've used it as an opportunity. I'm the hero of the dinner. Yeah. I'm the hero of the dinner. Like, this guy's, hey, look at this guy. He's not even here. He said this. He thought about us. I invited him 5 days ago.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Remember? Yeah. He's thinking there's a way to turn a no into an amazing opportunity.
That's huge.
Think about all the no's, the time you're going to save, the 15 minutes you're going to save to master whatever it is you want to master. And think about how that's going to have, shock waves throughout all those no's that you say. And I've become really good at that. And by the way, I do show up for my friends. I do show up. I don't say everything, but I can't say yes to everything.
Absolutely.
One more thing I want to say.
Yeah.
I'm warming up now. As you evolve, right? When I started Marquee, I didn't have kids. I didn't have a wife. I had time.
Dude.
I would eat dinner at 11 o'clock at night. I'd still carve out time for myself during the day. I'd still run races, but I could do whatever I wanted, in and out of the office, weird hours, all that. At 54, my life looks I eat dinner at 5:30 now. So your life system has to evolve as you evolve. You can't, and as I put more on my plate, running races that take, it's a 30-hour race, having kids and all this stuff, you have to say no.
Yeah.
You can't keep adding stuff without saying no to other things. So you have to get good at it.
I love how organic you are about these things. Like you don't have like a perfect theoretical answer that you then try to measure, like that you then try to sort of fit your life in. You have this very kind of like organic, responsive almost approach. Like, okay, what does my life look like today? Right? It's not the same as it was at 20, not the same as it was at 30. So you're trying to make it fit in a broader sort of life experience. I
don't want to scare anybody on theory. I can only talk from my life model, what I've experienced, what's worked for me and what hasn't. I can't talk about theory. So either some of the things that we'll talk about in the course of our conversation today will resonate, people will try it, or it won't. But I have to only share from my experiences. I'm a big believer in the more you experience, the more you can offer. I've lived with a Navy SEAL. I lived on a monastery, been in the music business, I've written books, I've had businesses that work, businesses that fail. I've dealt with losing a parent. I have kids. I feel like I can talk about a lot of different things, but only things that I've done.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I think it resonates, because we feel that authenticity. Even in your writing style, it's very authentic, it's very direct. You're not trying to make it sound like something. You're not trying to make it sound like someone. It's very clear that it comes from the heart and it comes from your actual experience.